Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. And in this video, I'm going to show you my most versatile background that I have in my small home studio, and it's not my lovely textured wall. It is fabric. Now I have a lot of fabric that I use as backgrounds, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use the same piece of fabric in 3 different ways to get 3 very different looking portraits. So when it comes to choosing fabric, I look for a couple of things. The first thing is I always go for fabric that is stretchy. That's going to come in really handy really quickly. Next, I always look for fabric that is really good value, because I like to get it in very, very long lengths, because really, well, you can't have enough. I don't know how long this is. You can't have enough fabric. So I think the first thing to do is to get a background set, then we'll get a light in, let's get a model ready, let's get shooting. So the first setup with the fabric is perhaps the most basic and straightforward. What I've got are 2 light stands, and across the top I've got a background support pole. And then I've just put the fabric over the top and draped it down. Now from where you are, this actually looks okay. It looks reasonably smooth, but the reality isn't quite so good. Now to see it, of course we need a model, and today I've got the awesome Fern! Fern, do you want to come into the front here? I've already set this up. Let's take a test picture and see how this looks. Okay, Fern, here we go. And there we go, now we can see the creases. Now the reason we couldn't see them in the video is because the light was coming very flat straight onto the background, whereas the photos, it's coming from an angle, and that makes a massive difference. So what I've done is I've clamped the fabric all the way around the outside using A-clamps. Now when it comes to choosing fabric, the sort I prefer is anything that has some stretch to it, because if you have stretchy fabric, you can stretch it out and make it much, much smoother. Now I've done all the way across the top and all the way down the sides, but as we get lower, it starts to get a little bit wrinkly and a bit creasy. So if you want to make that nice and smooth as well, you need another pole. Now the lovely thing about photography is anything that doesn't appear in the photos, it doesn't really matter what you use. So you could use a purpose-made background pole, you could use a broom handle, you could use a curtain pole, you could just use a length of wood. Whatever works is not going to be in the photo. So as you're clamping it, you might find that creases mysteriously appear. Don't worry, once you've clamped it in once, you're almost certainly going to have to go around a second time and just fine-tune the clamps to get a nice smooth piece of fabric. But once you're done, you're good to go. So Fern, do you want to come in? We'll just take a test photo, see how this looks. Great. So the background now looks much, much smoother, but the position of the light is going to have an impact on the final results. And if I had my light too close to the edge, well, side lighting will reveal any creases, no matter how small they are. The shadows in the background weren't my favorite thing, so to get rid of those, what I've done is I put the light dead center. Basically, we've made some beauty lighting. So let's give this a go. Fern, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Okay,
here we go. The light behind Fern is an optional extra. It makes the background a little bit brighter and adds a bit of a vignette effect. So for the next look, what I'm going to do is embrace the shadows and creases and try and make it part of the background that we see. So what I've done is I've taken my long red background fabric and I've draped it all the way around from one side to the other, and I'm going to add in some ruching. So let's just grab the middle of this and clip that on. And then I'm going to, as neatly as possible, add in some little drapes just to try and get that nice sort of draped effect. Now we'll fine tune that, make it all look really neat and tidy, and when we do, we'll add in a background light. So like before, I'm going to light the background separately to Fern, and the light for the background is going to be this. So I've got an eVOLV 200 with the barn doors and most importantly the grid. And I want to put a shaft of light just beaming down across these creases. Now remember from before, the more acute the angle that I use, the more you're going to see the creases in the fabric. And in this case, that's exactly what I want to see. So I'm going to put it right at the edge, right here. And let's take a test shot like this. And that looks absolutely wonderful. You can really see the ruching there. It is looking very theatrical. So Fern is back in the scene, and as you can see, she's got her own separate light. So basically this is a 2-light setup. One light for the background and a separate light lighting our subject, Fern. So Fern, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Let's take a few photos like this. Here we go. Changing the background is all well and good, but of course if you don't give your models something to do, eventually they're going to run out of poses. So props are a great way to add some variety to a shoot. So for the last setup, what I've got is the same piece of red fabric, but now I've stretched it between just 2 light stands and clamped it only at the top. Everything else is loose and flowing, and that's going to form part of this background, because this is a very random background effect. Because right back here, we have Sam, and she has our studio wind machine. Now, if you don't have a wind machine, you could use a large wafting board or a leaf blower, because Sam is going to blow this piece of fabric and hopefully it's going to move around and give us random background results with Fern here. So I better get out of the way. So Fern, do you want to come in and stand right up against the background for me? And we'll just do a test shot just to make sure this all works. So if you look towards me, here we go. And that's nice. I've got the light off to the side once again to try and emphasize the shadows and the creases and the movement of this fabric. If everybody's ready, let's start the fans, please. Here we go. The last set of pictures with the wind machine were such fun to do, and of course you don't need the same fabric or the same colour to achieve similar creative results. Now if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, leave me a comment below. Click on the bell icon for regular notifications of all the brand new videos right here in Adorama TV, and of course don't forget to click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey, thanks for watching.